Warning: this video contains images that may not be appropriate for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this like everybody else is. It's on every news channel. It's on every YouTube show. It's on every podcast. So I'm going to put my 2 cents in, if you will. And it's about the 5 animals that beat and ultimately killed Tyre Nichols in Memphis, Tennessee. And that's exactly what they were. They were animals. There is no excuse for the damage they inflicted on that man for whatever he did. It initially started as a reckless driving thing and turned into a car chase, a foot chase, and then basically the torture of a young man who was on the ground. And it was absolutely horrific to watch. I watched the video a handful of times, and quite frankly, I don't see why no one intervened to de-escalate what was happening. Every officer took their turn inflicting pain on that man, and not one of them tried to stop it. And Dan Bongino of Fox said it best. So have a look at this clip, and then I'll talk some more about it.
Let's bring in Dan Bongino. He's the host of Unfiltered with Dan Bongino. He's a former NYPD officer as well. Dan, you've heard the conversation. You've seen the video. What are your thoughts this morning?
Well, I intentionally didn't do any media on this, even on my own accounts, social or my shows, or even this network last night, because I wanted to wait to comment until I actually watched the video multiple times, saw multiple angles. And, you know, having done this job, having been a street cop in the 7-5 precinct in East New York, Brooklyn, one of the most dangerous in the country, you know, I've been there and hundreds of traffic stops and foot pursuits, so I've seen it, and I know exactly what it feels like to walk up on a car. I waited to comment because I'm trying to find any legitimate, rational reason that the situation was handled the way it was. There's been a lot of commentary on this about training and other things, and I don't get where that comes from. You think anyone was trained to do this? This isn't a training issue, guys. I was actually a trainer in the Secret Service Law Enforcement Academy and went through the NYPD Academy twice in the cadet program and a cop.
And he's exactly right. All the pundits, they're all over the airways saying this is how police are trained. They were trained to do that. They were trained to inflict damage on people, which is the furthest thing from the truth. And most of the people saying it have no idea whatsoever what it's like to be a law enforcement officer. But to say that those animals, the former 5 Memphis police officers, the animals, were trained to do that is absurd. In my opinion, they were just angry men who took out whatever problems they were having on that young man, and ultimately that young man lost his life. Yes, they should have been fired, and yes, they should have been charged with murder, because basically that's what it was. And all of you know I am 100% behind law enforcement, but there is no one that I know who could stand up and say they support those 5 animals for what they did to that man. There was absolutely no excuse. 5 big cops against one person. You want to tell me they could not control him and get him on the ground? He was on the ground. He seemed to be complying. They were using pepper spray. They were using tasers. They were using batons. 5 officers. And as I'm watching the video, I see more arriving, and none of them tried to de-escalate that situation and just put handcuffs on that man when he was on the ground. One of the first things we are trained in the academy, especially in a hand-to-hand combat situation, once you control a subject and the handcuffs are on them, there is no more fight. there is no more flight. It's over. And even if the person is on the ground without cuffs, you have 5 officers on top of him. In my opinion, there's no reason why they could not control his arms long enough to put handcuffs on him. Apparently, they were all having a bad night, and unfortunately, a man lost his life because of it, because of the unnecessary brutality that was inflicted on 5 animals who called themselves police officers. They did nothing but give that profession a bad name. They gave their agency a bad name. And now, all over the entire country, and probably all over the world, people are thinking, look at these cops. We told you they're all animals. All they want to do is kill people. I've seen some people come out, namely Joy Reid, who called them racist cops. Well, they were black. The man was black. So the race thing, to me, is out the window. Joy Reid is just a race baiter. She likes causing issues between people. We all know this. But I found another video of a woman on, I think it was TikTok. It came over another feed that I had. And what she had to say really made no sense to me. Now, I don't know who she is. I don't know what her background is. But what she said made 0 sense. And quite frankly, I don't think she knows what she's talking about. But she had to get her 15 seconds in like everybody else has to. So have a look at this clip.
I saw the video of the police beating Tyre Nichols to death, and there are no words left to be said that haven't been said. There's nothing new you can say when something happens every day in a country, but I do hope this opens a conversation to people understanding what systemic racism is and why we say this is not something that can be reformed. Put in black police officers, put in Latino police officers, put in people who look like the people that they beat and brutalize within a system that teaches them to beat and brutalize other people like themselves will not solve the problem. The institution is racist. That's what systemic racism means. Don't use the fact that these are 5 black cops as an opportunity to take out the racism of it all. No, this is something about policing in this country, is that brutality and violence is inherently part of the job, and it doesn't matter who it is they have inflicted on marginalized people. And no, it is not lost upon me the quickness with which they were willing to reprimand, charge, and fire these black police officers that killed a black man. It's not lost upon me the reason why they came out and did all these condemnations of this is the worst violence we'll ever see before the video was released, because they are willing to paint black police officers as brutal. However, I have no interest in defending them. Okay? They don't care about the racism of it all when they're in an institution that is teaching them to brutalize black people. They don't care about the unfairness of that when they are brutalized the street. I am not going to go out of my way to defend black cops by pointing out that the institution that they support is racist towards them, that it doesn't give them the highest amount of favor when it goes about protecting them from responsibility for brutalizing and killing black people. Nah, fuck them.
So according to her, the institution is racist. Police are trained to brutalize and torture people. That's what we learn when we go through a training academy. We are taught to beat people. We are taught to torture people. And basically, we are taught just to be animals to whoever we come in contact with. So right there, she has no idea what she's talking about. But she said the whole institution is systemic racism. Doesn't matter if you're black, Latino, white, whatever. According to her, every single cop is racist, and they learn that in the academies they go to learn how to be a cop, if you will. Institutional racism is such a ridiculous term to me because of the hundreds of thousands of police officers all over the United States. We have bad ones. We've seen it all too many times. The people are getting severely injured or killed by animal police officers. That has nothing to do with the training they receive. It has everything to do with the type of person they are, their character. Just like the 5 animals in Memphis, they were just bad guys. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is not the first time they beat someone. It's probably the first time they killed someone and they got caught. All 5 of them have not been on the job long. I think all of them have probably been on the street less than 6 years. Don't quote me on that because I'm not positive, but I think that's the case. They were part of a unit called the Scorpion Unit, a street crimes unit. Just like the NYPD had an undercover unit that took thousands of handguns off the street, and then when something bad happened, that unit was disbanded. So from what I understand, the Scorpion unit has been scrubbed for now because of this incident. People will say that police departments have internal gangs of thugs. We've heard it about the LA Sheriff's Office. We've heard about the LAPD, and just about every police department as far as I'm concerned. People will say these specialized units who go out to fight crime are nothing but street gangs who wear badges and carry guns, which in my opinion is absolute bullshit. Beating and torturing someone is not what that job is about. The people will cry about it, they'll bitch about it, but they'll always call the police when they need them. But what this did was give a bad name to every cop that's on the street, just like the animal with the George Floyd incident who knelt on the back of him. He ultimately died. There are decent police officers in every city and state in the United States of America who take an oath to do a job to protect and serve, and that's what the majority of us do. No matter what type of job you have in a police department, if you go to the academy and you get the job and get sworn in, you take an oath to protect and to serve. Just like the 5 in Memphis did, and apparently they don't know anything about the oath they swore to uphold, because doing what they did is absolutely horrendous. I quite frankly was disgusted watching it. Again, I watched it numerous times, but it just struck me that, like I said in the beginning, I didn't see any one of them, not the ones who were damaging this young man, but even the ones that were arriving. They did zero to pull those guys off him and to take control of a situation that was out of control. The batons, the tasers, this pepper spray, and 5 or more could not control these people, could not control this young man. They didn't want to control him, from what I could see. They wanted to do what they were doing. And quite frankly, I hope that they pay the ultimate price for it and get convicted. And again, I'm a 100% backer of law enforcement. But what they did nothing but tarnish the badge that they wore. They took the life of a young man. I don't care what he did. Okay? I'm pretty sure they weren't chasing him because he shot somebody. I'm pretty sure they weren't chasing him because he tried to kidnap somebody. For whatever reason, it all started out as a reckless driving. That man did not deserve to be killed by 5 animals who called themselves police officers. This country now will go through this again with the protests. Hopefully they won't be violent. With everybody calling police bad, every cop is going to be looked at as an animal, as they're only out there to hurt or kill somebody, that they're not out there to protect anybody. And this is, again, because of these 5. So what's going to happen? It's going to remain in the media. It's going to remain in everyone's mind until they go to trial and hopefully get convicted. Now, disagree with me if you want. Disagree. But they deserve to be punished for what they did. They do not deserve to be walking on the street again, because no matter what was going on in their lives at that moment, what they did that night was completely unacceptable, and it had zero to do with the training they received from their department, but it had everything to do with their state of mind while they were out doing the job they supposedly were sworn to do. So you can complain and people can bitch and moan that cops are trained to kill people. Cops are trained to brutalize people. Well, I, for one, have never seen any academies train officers to kill people. We all train with firearms, and we're trained to shoot a certain way. You don't shoot to stop someone. You don't shoot somebody in the leg. That's not part of a training protocol. But there were no shots fired that night. But everything else they did, that's not training. That's rogue police officers who had the weapons to do what they did. And I'll say it one more time, for them not to be able to control this kid while he was on the ground is beyond me. I'm not playing the video. You saw some photos of it in the Bongino clip because, quite frankly, everybody has already seen it. But it's just so wrong that a family now has lost a loved one because of the violence and the brutality that was inflicted by the people who were supposed to protect them. And I think it's disgusting, and it should not happen. And I guess that's it. I just don't know what else to say other than that woman in that video has no idea what she's talking about. Brutality and violence is not taught. It is not part of the job. And quite frankly, I'm not going to say they were racist because they inflicted this on somebody of their own race. So I think race goes out the window here. It's just that they were rogue and they were animals, and now they have to pay the price for what they did. And that's all I'm going to say about this. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell. Share this video with someone if you will. I'd appreciate that. I hope everybody's healthy and safe. And I'll see you soon with something else. Have a great night.